is Olga's show, back live on the air, 92.3 FM or U923 FM. You can also find us on Ustream under Olga's show, or you can find on YouTube Olga's show. But today's event right now you can see live on Ustream. And we have a guest, Roger Royce, who has his law firm in Palo Alto, working with a lot of startups. And he is our second-time guest by popular demand. And people have been asking what to do when I have a startup and what to do when I have an idea. And here you are. And we have international companies contacting to me as well. I'm like, that's great.
Absolutely. I didn't know it was by popular demand, but that's good to know. So about half of the work we do is with international companies. There's this phenomenon that I would call the global startup. Everywhere in the world is trying to be Silicon Valley right now, but currently there is only one Silicon Valley, which means that a lot of companies will come here from other parts of the globe. And when they come here, they have all the issues that a startup company has, but on top of that, there's an international law overlay, and that's something that we focus on at our firm, at Royce Law Firm.
So what U.S. legal issues in particular should international startups be concerned about?
Well, tax is always on everybody's mind, and especially if you've been reading the papers lately about some of the tax schemes, I guess you could call them, legitimate though they may be, throughout the world that some of the larger corporations have been putting in place. So it's important, and it raises really two big issues for a typical startup company. Number one, they need to be smart about it. They need to put in place structures that are tax efficient, but they need to be careful because the IRS will certainly find them if they're doing something abusive.
And great, we do have phone call, and while we're finding out what is that all about, then we will come back to it later. So what we will go to the next question is there any resources for startups to help them with, find investors or partners?
Yeah, so I hear every day people contact me or people I sit down with that really want introductions, mostly to investors, mostly to angel investors. And while there are online resources, you can go through the yellow pages, I suppose, if such a thing still exists. There's probably
it just exists because they drop it at the doorsteps.
Okay, good. That's good to know. We've got a doorstop. But what I find is that nothing beats a warm introduction. Nothing beats a personal connection through a network. And what I've tried to do for a couple of years now is we formed a resource site that we call Royce Link, and it's www.roycelink.com, where companies that I know and that I've met and I've vetted will register on this site, and we also have our service partners, not only the attorneys, but the bankers, the accountants, the valuation people, all the people that we work with and we feel comfortable with and we can recommend. But most importantly, we have our inner circle of the investment community also resides on this site, where they can see who else is there. They can get a first look at some of the best new innovative ideas that come out of this valley that our firm's involved in. They have an opportunity to meet these companies. The companies have an opportunity to get in front of the angel investment community, which, by the way, I think is much harder to do than the VC community. So that is a resource that we've offered for a couple of years now, and we'll probably be promoting even more so now with the new changes in the securities law regulations.
Right, and as we started to talk about angel investment again, you have an event on Monday, which is Angel Lounge in Palo Alto, Mink's Restaurant, not far away, actually across the street from your law firm.
That's right. It's at 1700 Embarcadero, and registration is from 3 to 4. And then at 4 o'clock, there's going to be a panel discussion of investors and venture capitalists talking about investing trends in web services, digital media, mobile e-commerce, big data, enterprise analytics, software as a service, cloud, and green tech or clean tech. We've got quite a panel lined up. After that, at 5 o'clock, there'll be a pitch panel where the startups will pitch to the judges, and from 6:30 to 9, a networking reception with these very investors. We've got a panel of VCs from Accelerator Ventures, from Astia, from Clearstone Ventures, Vish Mithra, who I'm sure your audience probably knows, a very very famous local VC, will be there. DFJ will be there. Khosla Ventures, very well known name in this valley. Scale Venture Partners, SF Angels, Manny Fernandez will be there from SF Angel, and I will be moderating this panel. So it's going to be a very fascinating day at Ming's on Monday.
You also have a pitch and demo with some startups set up already.
Yeah, you should
and
come.
Judges.
That's right. There'll be a pitch panel, like I say, at 5 o'clock, where a handful of companies will pitch to the judges, and then the judges will review them and give them feedback right there and pick a winner, I believe.
Okay, and what the winner will have to expect?
A meeting with you, maybe.
That would be one of the
offer.
things. Yes, that's I can offer that as long as you guys already did all the work, so I can work with that. Sure. So
The satisfaction of having been selected to pitch, because I can tell you something, it's very competitive in this valley. I see companies all the time they're the best startup company in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And they come out here and they find out they're not the best startup company. It's a very competitive, very high bar to get in front of these judges out here in Silicon Valley. So I think it's quite an honor just to be on that panel, and if they get selected as being a investment worthy, that's even better.
So if I think correctly, and I see those people giving pitches all the time, it's helpful for them to get better, to represent their idea and company.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's the kind of thing the person I think needs a lot of practice at, because the problem that I found with entrepreneurs is they get too close to the idea, and they can talk. Just yesterday, I have this experience almost every day. Somebody spent a good 10-15 minutes getting way down, wallowing in the detail of what his company did, and I still did not know what it was they did. I just told him, I said, I got a short attention span. You gotta let me know in 20 seconds. You gotta be able to tell me what you do. Well, these pitch panels really hone that. It forces people to go right for the important things, because engineers, being smart, of course, they want to spend a little time thinking about some of the intricacies that might be a little too arcane for a pitch.
All right, so that's why it's good to practice all the time for
Yep,
startups,
absolutely.
companies, and perhaps first time they weren't good in front of the judges, or judges didn't understand their ideas, or who knows what was the reason, but the more you practice, the better you get, especially when it's complementary. A lot of pitch and demos, meetups, complementary for
They're complementary.
startups.
Practice is good because you're going to hear the same questions come up again and again. So I think it's important that people have an answer. For example, investors are always going to want to know, how are they going to make money on a deal? And you'd be surprised how many really good companies, they haven't really thought that far. And part of it is because in order to be a good company, they're probably thinking more about saving the world than they are about making money, right? So when exit strategy comes up, there can't be a long, awkward pause. You gotta have to have an exit strategy and be able to explain it.
So can you bring the same idea, like if it's exit strategy, if nobody bought the company, and it just doesn't go, should the startup start a new startup, have the same idea, maybe polish it up, or just keep working on that idea until it's gets the right audience?
Yeah, well, that's an interesting question and probably a little above my pay grade, but they say if you're going to fail, you should fail fast, right? Once you see that, and that's the other good thing about some of the pitches, that the people that sit on these panels tend not to be very shy about saying so if they don't like something. And so some of the feedback might be hard to hear, but if you hear 3 panels say that's a bad idea, try something else, might be worth listening to. I'm not saying you definitely should take it, but it might be good advice. Like I say, if 3 people tell you you've had too much to drink, maybe you should go home and go to bed.
Yes. And with startups, did you have your own startups?
Do I have my own startups?
Yes.
Yeah, lots of them. I'm involved in lots of companies at different levels of engagement. The one that I am probably most involved with is a company you've probably seen at some of the demo tables called Candy Jar. And it is we incubated it right in our offices in Palo Alto. And I'm really excited about this because it goes after that area of contextual mobile advertising that everybody has been trying to figure out and get into in a big way. And we think that we've got some good ideas. It relies primarily on QR and NFC code, but we're expanding that to other types of I guess vehicles for getting the content. But the idea behind Candy Jar is that it takes this whole real world and puts it in a virtual environment through a mobile device. Because I don't know about you, but I walk around all day in the real world wishing I could save stuff, someplace on the internet, instead of having to jot it down or take photographs of it or whatever. A jacket I want to buy, an article I saw in the paper, ripping pages out of papers. This is a way that you can very easily scan a code and it's saved on a website someplace for you.
Probably cloud-based somewhere.
It is cloud-based, yes it is.
All right. So now with startups, why a Candy Jar? Because you just had an idea that you want to save something for yourself and be organized, because when it's on the internet you can easily search the information.
Well, the question is, this is stuff that's not on the internet. This is out here in the real world that you got to get into your own website. That's the concept. And again, like I say, a lot of companies are going after this problem. For example, if I'm a retailer and I'm selling shoes, and somebody walks by the store and they look at my shoes and they like my shoes, and then they walk on, it'd be kind of nice to know who really likes my shoes. So if they walk by and they see my shoes and they scan a QR code so they can save it and come back and look to it, well, now I can talk to them. I can serve them up contextual ads. I can tell them when we're having commercials and things like that. I don't want to get too much into the detail of any one specific company because there are so many good ideas, but that's one that has really grabbed me and one that we decided to incubate and take to the next level.
Well, you can probably walk by and smile at that beautiful shoes, and then you're like, oh, I guess by facial recognition we know that this person likes the shoes. Then you can find out who is this person is, address and phone and email, and just shoot the information about those shoes.
Maybe you and I should form a startup.
I don't know. This is more advanced probably, and with Google Glasses probably you can kick in some information too. So I know we're going where there's probably not much privacy will left behind.
That's certainly an issue, isn't it?
So I know we have Tchaikovsky, another version where it's no words probably. That's this modern version with a Russian Boris Moiseyev singer, and now we have another version for you, so you will be filled up with classical music tonight.
Is this the rap version?
It's what?
From Swan Lake this time. Now you can dance. We had Swan Lake here. So we did the pictures. We can do it again. I guess we have a film, new one coming up.
What is that?
I don't know, that's a new film. Because we also have Chinese programming here.
Oh.
Chinese, Spanish, Filipino, Vietnamese. Yeah, do you have a card? She's gonna use this for her,
Yes, ma'am.
yeah. So, how long is that? 4 minutes. Can you do pictures, please? While we still have time. I would like to touch on Death on Arrival. If you can find some of the main ideas from the book. Do you have it somewhere?
Yeah, I have the book in my car. Can I go get it?
Yeah, probably good to get it, and we can just read it out loud. And I can hold it, audience. 4 minutes. He will pick up the book. Потом pictures. Somebody was calling.
А на YouTube не поставила, что ли, мы все вот снимались? Не на YouTube, а просто фотографию не выставила.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Мы все вот снимались, кто на радиостанции работает, все снимались его.
And?
Не поставили?
No.
Зачем?
I don't know, because nobody sent it to me. Did you send it to me?
Не, я снимала. Снимали? Кто
Sasha,
снимал?
did you send me the pictures? No? Okay. That's why it's a secret to works in the studio. It's a mystery, people. Oh, we have very little time. Now, can you give me iPad also ready with Yahoo? Is it here? Yahoo
Это
account.
Gmail.
Валентина. Okay, one more time. Yahoo.
Я,
Please.
У тебя столько имейлов.
You can fight with
это
me.
iPad не выдерживает.
You don't have to fight with me. I just want email. Email. I need email. Yahoo email. I cannot delete it. It's very close to my heart, all those emails. I love them all. And I delete as far as I can read them. But it's about like 25,000 emails. So it will take some time before I can read them all. Okay, you're coming up, so take it easy. Thank you. You're right on time. And this was Tchaikovsky, Swan Lake for all of us. And we are back to Roger Royce with his book. He was talking before, Dead on Arrival. And we are talking about legal mistakes we possibly don't want to have when we have startup.
Right, so just imagine, because I've seen this scenario over and over again, that you've got a great idea. Maybe you're a first-time entrepreneur, maybe you're a serial entrepreneur, but you finally come across this great idea. And you've got your team together, you've got your technology together, you push this thing quite a ways along, and you've gotten an angel investor interested in you. Or maybe you've just done some friends and family and you're right to acquisition. But you're ready to go. This company, you finally hit a great idea, and you run into some legal problem. Now let's suppose it's a legal problem that you could have fixed. That could have been avoided if you had a little better planning at the front end. I see that all the time in startup companies, and that's why I wrote the book. So it's basically a list of the most common issues that startup companies have, what they should look for, and everybody needs to educate themselves. This is a book for lawyers. It's also a book for startup entrepreneurs, because you need to know what questions to ask to make sure that everything is being cared for.
Yes, and then startup. Why that book for startups only and attorneys? Could it be just in something else?
There are certainly, absolutely, it's for startups, but these concepts have general application throughout business generally. The issues that startup companies have are maybe a little more technology weighted, but certainly the issues that I raise, like I say, they're in every business. Every business has employment law issues, right? Almost every business in California has to deal, has compliance issues. Certainly they all are subject to California and federal employment laws, and many businesses might have a little bit of trouble complying with them, especially here in California, just the way it's structured. So it's not just startups that have those issues. Every technology company is going to have to be concerned about technology protection and protecting and acquiring and categorizing its rights. But in a startup company, that might be a little bit more of an issue. So you're absolutely right, Olga. These are issues that every business has, not just startups, but I tend to see them more in startups.
All right. And concepts. Which concepts we should follow? Like, can you name them 1, 2, 3, 4? I know it's probably a lot of them. I wanted to say a whole bunch of them, but can you start with the main one, by your opinion, as an attorney?
So there's a presentation that I give fairly regularly called Top 10 Legal Mistakes That Startups Make. I used to call it Top 10, the top dumbest things startups do to screw up their company, but that was too close to another.
And I know that you usually give that for startups at pitch and demo. If they get lucky, they can get a copy of it. I have the copy.
Oh, lucky you.
Yes. In fact, I have few copies I can share. If somebody ask me for that, I definitely share.
Well, let me run through a couple of them. I'd say the number one biggest mistake that people make is they don't document, they don't get it in writing, and it doesn't take a whole lot of writing to at least establish what the deal is. But everybody thinks they're on the same page. When it's finally forced to put that down in writing, they come to find out they're not on the same page. They've got a different idea. That is a dead on arrival issue, because if people don't know, if they don't have a meeting of the minds, and if they're not going to agree to anything, you might as well start over.
Okay, so you're supposed to document what you agree, especially if you have partners.
Absolutely. So that would be my number one. Other issues tend to be more specific. For example, another problem people have, I mentioned employment laws. It's surprisingly difficult to deal with California's minimum or wage and hour law. It might not be popular for saying that, but it's true. It's hard to comply with. It takes some thought and some planning. And startup companies in particular who want to use equity instead of cash to pay their people have an even bigger problem on their hands. It's something to be aware of and a risk to manage.
Right. So I know that our time of our interview coming to the end.
Okay.
Again, the time running fast. We learn a lot. If those who wants to get the book Dead on Arrival, it's available on Amazon. Also, you can contact Roger Royce himself, and he would be happy to even sign the book for you, just like he did for me. Because if you want to avoid 10 legal mistakes when you have your own business or your own startup, that's the probably book to read first, and avoid those legal mistakes.
Well, I'd like to make an offer to your audience. I just want to let everybody know that you can have a copy of this book if you go on Amazon and buy one. Or, if you send me an email, I will send you a download of an ebook.
All right. Thank you, Roger Royce, for coming to Olga's show. And
Okay.
I know that you will be back sometime soon with us again and learning more. And thank you for everyone to listening to Olga's show. Find us on the Google search.
Thank you for listening to U 92.3 FM.
All right.